Hey, everybody, welcome to the next episode of our Business and Life Stories podcast. Tonight, I am so excited. I can hardly sit in this chair. I'd rather be jumping up and down, but then I'd be off frame. We have Meagan Tubb with us. We first met Meagan, my gosh, she was playing music, and, in a town full of musicians, when you hear somebody at that level, you know it right away. So I'm excited. James is excited. I sent him some clips of Meagan playing. He's all the way down New Zealand, and I think he's buying a plane ticket to come up here to hear the next show. All right, well, thank you, and welcome, Meagan. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, so James had a question about how you got here. What was
how
that?
I got
to the U.S.?
You mean like how I came to Texas? Is that what the question was? Or how I came?
In the sense of that, we all love stories, and stories often set the scene, and they set the scene for relationships, and they set the scene for businesses, and they set the scene for records, and all the rest of it, right? And so I wondered if, because Mike and I are such fans of yours, whether you could share just a little bit of your story for just a couple of minutes or something, just to set the scene for the conversation. How's that?
Okay, well, let's see. I'll try to be succinct, which I have a hard time doing, but I'll try. So I grew up in Missouri, the Show Me State, and I took piano lessons when I was real little, from about age 5 till about age 14. And then I switched to guitar at age 14, and my first guitar was a blue Fender Stratocaster, blue Fender Stratocaster. And it was like right when grunge and the alternative scene was on, and there was like, the Riot Girls and that whole Seattle scene. So it was a great time to learn guitar because there was a ton of women-fronted bands, and there was also a lot of music out there that was kind of simple to learn, like a lot of punk rock songs are pretty simplistic. So especially as a new guitar player, it's like, oh yeah, okay, I can do this. And then so I quickly took some lessons and really wanted to learn more, wanted to learn how to play lead. I went to the University of Missouri in Columbia for 4 years, and I got my communications degree with a minor in music performance on the piano. And while I was there, I formed my first band called Out of the Tub, which is just like a 3-piece college rock band. We just kind of played around, not anything really serious. And then I moved to San Diego for a couple of years out of college. Knew I wanted to go to California to check it out. But then I quickly realized, like, wow, it is really expensive here. It's expensive to live here. And San Diego didn't have a huge scene. There was, a few places around that I played, but not as much as I would have liked. And I think I also there were some people there that I was surrounding myself with that weren't very good for me. And so, long story short, I put up a poster to form a band, and I met this guy, and we were going to start a band, and then he decided to move to Austin. And I was so sad because I was like, oh, we were just going to start this awesome rock band. He was way into Stevie Ray Vaughan. He played blues. We're going to do all these like dual guitar type things. And then he moved to Austin, and he called me up. He's like, Tubb, you got to come check out this scene. Just come to Austin. This was in 2005. He said, just come to Austin, check it out. If you don't fall in love with it, you can always go back to California, but I really think this is where you should be. So I came, and I saw Carolyn Wonderland play. I saw, who else did I see? Hey Bale. I'm trying to think of who else I saw. But I saw all these musicians playing. There's all these venues all over the place. And I thought, oh, well, let's see. My rent's going to be cut in half. Like, this makes total sense. So then I moved to Austin, and, played with a few different people. And then I found Jason Nuncamp, my guitar player, who's still my guitar player today. He plays guitar and lap steel and pedal steel and banjo. And he's just an amazing musician. And he's been playing with me since what was it? I think 2006. And then right around that same time, I also found John Duran, who's my drummer. And so we've kind of been the core of the Meagan Tubb and Shady People band. We've had a few different bass players over the years. They've all been wonderful. Wilson Carr played with us for a long time when we did a lot of touring. We went over to Europe. He was the one that played with us there, and he played on the record Cast Your Shadow. But the latest record was with Kurt Rivet. He played bass on that. And right now we're kind of just rotating bass players. But anyways, long story short, once we formed the band, we entered this Battle of the Bands competition out in Spicewood, and we won it. And then when we won it, we got to open for Willie Nelson.
Oh, wow.
So that was pretty awesome. And Putty Locke kind of took me under his wings for a while, and he was really instrumental in, introducing me to a lot of people. And I think that's how we ended up playing at Saxon Pub and Momo's and Antone's and all those places. So rest in peace, Putty Locke is no longer with us. But yeah, so that's kind of what happened there. And yeah, we just play music, and I write songs, and I'm a mom, and I play, when it makes sense, and take shows when it makes sense, and that's that.
What are some techniques you have for balancing the business and the kids? And I'm sure, like all mothers and wives and everywhere around the world, your husband is still in training. I know I am with my wife.
Oh.
How do you balance all that?
We're still trying to figure that out. I mean, this room that I'm in right now is both his workspace, because he is working from home. And if you can't see, but like over there is my half stack and all my guitars right out of the shop. So there'll be a lot of times where he's sitting here going, and there's all this stuff that he's like, he's testing stuff. And then I'm over here just like, playing guitar. We work it out. But I think the biggest thing is you just have to be realistic with the time that you have and what your goals are. I mean, I have not done any significant touring since becoming a mother, because there just is nobody. We don't have family nearby. All our family lives far away. And so I really cannot be gone for like a week at a time, touring places, unless the money is there. And Willie Nelson has not called me up.
Well, I'll take care of that right after this call.
Anyway. But yeah, I mean, I'm honored just to be able to play my music, record my music, have people that appreciate what I do, and be able to go out and have a full schedule just around here in Texas and Hill Country, and then be able to, say goodnight to my kids, get up in the morning, take them to the bus stop and all that. So, I mean, that's the most important thing to me. And that was something that I really had to come to terms with that. Which kind of brings me to this other thing, which I don't know if I was going to talk about this or not, but I think I probably should. So the last tour that we did as a band was like a 7-state tour, and it was in 2012. We toured like Colorado, Wyoming, Utah, Idaho, Montana, and New Mexico. I booked it. And it was crazy. I mean, so it was like one gig would be like, there was one gig that was like 9 hours apart between places, and it was crazy. But I mean, I was on a shoestring, and I wanted to make sure everybody made money. So I was like, okay, we're gonna like couch surf it here, and then we're gonna get up early and drive 10 hours. And the gig band's like, what?
Oh my word!
This one gig we played in Montana. It was like this pizza joint, and we played there, and they ordered pizza for us. When we got done, they locked us in, and we spent the night on the stage. So like, anyways, but
wow, did they leave any pizza in the oven for you?
They did actually. There's a kitchen and all kinds of stuff. They're like, make yourself at home. We're like, okay. Like all these air mattresses on the stage. They were super nice. It was great. But anyways, so before that last tour though, my husband and I, we had unexpectedly gotten pregnant. And I was like, oh man. And it was like, oh, I was starting to get sick. And I thought, how am I going to do this tour? Like this 2-week grueling tour if I'm feeling horrible. I didn't know what to do about it. I mean, I knew that I wanted to become a mom, but I was like, I'm afraid about this tour. And then like, I think it was a week or two before the tour, I had a really horrible miscarriage and I ended up in the ER and we lost the baby. And it just really, when you go through something like that, it just stays with you. It just was like so obvious that like, no, this is way more important than some tour, and this is something that I can do that whenever, like my legs work, my hands work, my brain sort of works. Like I can still probably go on a tour when I'm 100 if I want to, if God willing, if everything is still functioning. But, there's only this short little window that you have. And so when we got done with that tour, which was also really weird to go on a tour in the aftermath of that, it was very cathartic in some ways, but it was also really hard, but like right after that, I was like, oh no, like I'm putting the brakes on all of this. Like it's more important for me to be a mom right now than anything else. So I just put it all on hold and I just gave it to God, and it worked out, and thank the Lord, that I listened to that. So I don't know where I was going with all that, but just, like, I guess my biggest thing, if there's any women who are watching this and they're at some point in their career and they're worried that if they jump into motherhood that they'll lose all the things that they've done leading up to that, I would just say no. Like just do it, and any way that you can. If you want to adopt, or if it's a calling on your heart to be a mom, listen to that. Don't let go of that. So sorry.
No, I'm really glad you shared that with us. I mean, as you know, we lost several, but we ended up adopting 2 boys later, and you've met one of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, James and I see that all the time, and I'm really glad you say that, because I think it definitely has more impact coming from someone like yourself who's famous rather than coming from us, the behind the scenes guys. We have faces that are made for radio. So, but yeah, we see this all the time with founders of startups. It's like the willingness to sacrifice the family in order to drive the business, and we try to tell these men and women. I think you've just said it far better than we ever could. It's like, no, a good idea is a good idea. A workable product is a workable product. There is no reason to sacrifice your family to make this happen.
Yeah. And I think in some ways too, when you make that sacrifice and you go on that journey, there will be things that will happen to you in your inner being and in your mind, and just things that, you kind of stumble upon in being a parent, that you never would have had that experience. And, maybe other things happen that you never could have counted on had you just decided to stay off of that road,
So did you find, as I know James and I did, that as you became a parent, started raising children, that your own parents looked a lot more smarter in retrospect than you ever gave them credit for?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'd call my mom, like, at the end of the days, we're like, oh my gosh, especially when I think the hardest one was when because I had we had ours close together. It's like, why did I do this to myself? I'm nursing one kid and I'm trying to potty train another kid, and there's just like mess, liquids, stuff everywhere. Every day is just like, I just feel like a professional janitor chef, janitor, you know. And then you get to the end of your day, you know, because it's like, okay, especially with the baby, it's like your life is like little pie slices. Okay, wake up, feed, burp, change, you know, all that, bath, go back to bed, and then, you know, you start the whole thing over again, you know, every 3 hours if they're nursing. So you kind of get in this cycle where you're like, what day is it? What time is it? And like, it doesn't even feel like you're doing anything. Like you just kind of, you're like, am I doing anything? But I mean, you are though, you know, because you're taking care of tiny people who need you, you know, and nobody pays you for it. But man, if you don't do it well, it's not good. So you gotta just, you know, if you know, keep your girlfriends around, have those people that you can call when you're having a tough day. Like, but to answer your question, I would call my mother, and I would call her in tears, and she'd be like, Mom, oh my gosh, I'm so stressed out and I'm so tired. And she would just laugh. She's like, I promise you this will pass, and you're going to look back on this time and you're going to miss it. So just, you know, try to find those little moments every day, those little precious diamonds. You know, when your kid says or does something that's just like, what? That's so cute. My favorite thing, Miyakota said once when she was 2, she goes, when I grow up, I'm going to have a beer and drive a bus. Like, okay, great. You're winning.
Hey, Willie might have an opening for a bus driver. You know, he's never going to stop touring.
I'm like, you can't do both. You can't drink the beer and drive the bus. Maybe on Willie's bus. I don't know. Maybe that's okay.
So yeah, this is great. And that's something that I feel like when I've listened to you play, that I can hear the conviction in your voice that you've worked really hard to get this good and you have the talent, but talent doesn't mean anything if you don't work it.
Right.
And I also get the sense it's like all those songs are coming from real experiences. It's not like some musicians, you know, we all know, we've all heard them, where it's like they're obviously singing something that they don't know anything about.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah,
that's not you. And
my favorite are the songs that just flat out lie to you. You know, like what is it? What's that? I'm sorry, J-Lo, but that one song, like my love doesn't cost a thing. I'm like, yeah, right, J-Lo. You know, right. Like, why don't you be real with us and just like list all the things that he really needs to have, and then he'll be out there. Maybe, you know, it'll all work out. I don't know. I just think that there's so much just nonsense out there. I just try to write songs and lyrics that are helpful. I don't know. I mean, I try to be helpful.
Well, you're one of your recent ones that you put out, and there's links below in the video for y'all that want to check out Meagan's website, go look at her stuff. It was the one about the lady that lost the kid, or was it called Rainbow's Child or something like that?
Rainbow Child.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, that's about my oldest daughter. And I figured out, I had never heard the term rainbow baby. And you know what that term is. That's the baby that you have, or the child that you have after a pregnancy loss.
Yeah, I didn't know that term until I heard your song, and I'm like, that's such a perfect term.
Yeah. And I was trying to like write it rainbow baby, and I'm like, well, baby's kind of like that's sort of a hard word to rhyme, not have it. I mean, you could take that so many different ways, but I'm like, child, there's a lot of, it's better rhyming. So, and I also figured, you know, I think I wrote that song when she was probably like 6 months old, maybe a little older than that, but I knew like her babyhood, like she was clearly going into childhood. And I thought, okay, I'm not sure how long it's going to take me to actually record this and release it. So that was the other thing, is I wanted it to be timely to the period that, you know, we're all kind of in together as a family. So yeah, that's about it.
I mean, most people never get to stand on stage like you've done, and certainly most musicians never play at your level. What are some of the silly and silly and fun things that people say to you at your live shows.
Oh man. Oh, I was gonna make so I have a list of things that like I want to do, but I never get around to doing because I'm a terrible procrastinator. But sorry. Damn. But one of the things I was gonna do at some point is I was gonna make a little video of all of the people who have said certain things to me at shows. Like these are actual things that people have said to me, and like dress up as all the people who have said weird things to me. Like I played a show pregnant, and this cowboy guy came up to me. He goes, "I hear you're with Foe." I hear you're with Foe. I'm like, "Excuse me?" Yeah, I'm like, "Yeah, but it's a person." It's just horse. Like, my favorite though, and I get this a lot. And I mean, you know, any compliment, I will take it. It's fine. I don't get offended by it. But my favorite is, you know, you play really, really well for a girl. Like you play guitar really well for a girl. I'm like, okay, thanks. Yeah, all right. I'm glad I like elevated your idea of what a girl should play guitar like. So hey, that's good.
Oh my gosh. I don't even know where to begin with that level of ignorance in a person. Just like,
I just laugh because I'm like, I wonder what I could say back that would be like similar, but I just let it go because I figure, well, it is a compliment, you know, so what are you gonna do?
well, that's true. That's true. And I mean, some people are, particularly guys, are just awkward and say stuff that they don't know what the heck else to say sometimes. And sometimes they're just dumb. So
Well,
you
and I
never
think
know.
yeah, sometimes I'm ignorant and dumb too. I mean, like, my God, since COVID hit, you know, we all were social distancing. It's like that first show that I had at, what was it, Graceland or Metcalf? I think that
Yeah.
was the first gig that I had post
That's the one,
COVID.
that's the one where we met you.
Yeah. Oh man, what a humdinger. I was like, I have a microphone and I haven't seen anybody's faces or been in groups of people more than like 2 in the last 6 months. And like, I'm playing my first gig. So, oh, the weirdness. And I'm already a little socially awkward. So I'm sorry. I don't even remember what I said, but I know that I probably said all kinds of weird stuff.
It was actually a lot of fun listening to you at that show because things were just starting to open up in Austin and there was hardly anybody there. I was sitting with my friends who were listening and like, wow, this is a real professional musician and singer because she's playing like she's playing to a crowd of thousands. And that's the difference with a real pro. A real pro is going to play their best if there's only 2 people in the room.
Sometimes it was nobody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And James could tell us a bit about that. He says he used to be on the, as he calls it, the chicken wire and broken beer bottle circuit through the American South.
The Blues Brothers.
Yeah, I think
They play country and western, both kinds.
I think he played some pretty sketchy clubs.
Oh man.
I mean, I feel really fortunate to have played in a few of those sort of rough places, particularly in parts of southern England too, kind of rough areas, and it's kind of like, and a lot of the stories which I used to read about the bands and whatnot, and what I imagine that they went through, particularly the James Brown and Hendrix and whatnot, Otis Redding and the Chitling circuit, and they went through some incredibly tough times, and from I guess linking it into entrepreneurism, what doesn't break us makes us stronger, right? And that's why they became the performers,
right?
That they became, and they transcended. They kind of transcended, and they challenged and they transcended sort of societal, established societal boundaries or limitations, and they kind of bust them open, and real change makers, like just an incredible period in the late 60s. Really?
Yeah, I wish it was around back then. I wasn't born yet. But I often
Well,
wonder, I'm
I was
like,
on.
oh, I used to listen to all of my parents' records from that era, so that was cool.
Yeah. So, and that, I think a point I'd love to explore is you kind of brought it up a couple of times, but in different circumstances. You said that in your teens, you're inspired because there were women fronting, girls fronting grunge bands.
Yeah.
And then that dumbass comment, "Hey, you play pretty good for a woman," or like whatever it was. It's kind of like, again, the similarities. I think most people, maybe it's just because I'm a man, but I think most people probably can think of male entrepreneurs or male successful male leaders probably more easier, like off the top of their head.
Mhm.
And I guess when I thought about, or when I was really into listening, who I wanted to listen to and everything else,
Mhm.
everyone else, it was always the males which sort of jumped out. I mean, there was a few females, but it was fairly skewed. I mean,
Yeah.
it was like Janis Joplin.
Grace Slick.
Sorry?
Grace Slick. Did you ever listen to Grace Slick?
Yeah. From a Jefferson Airplane. And
as you know, Joan Jett
Etta James.
totally wanted to go out with me.
So, but it was still skewed. I mean, it was like, again, the names that I just mentioned, the names that pop into my head are male dominated, and like Zeppelin, Purple, Hendrix, Cream. I mean, the Stevie Ray Vaughan. The list goes on and on and on, right? And it's that there. Do you feel that there's a? I mean, I know that probably women have been artists for the last 30 or 40 years, but have you detected a shift in the tide yet for where female musicians and lead musicians are getting the acclaim and the support which they're really due?
I don't really know. I mean, I know a lot of successful women musicians. I know a lot of women who tour and who are releasing records and playing guitar, and the highway women. I mean, I think in Americana they're kind of dominating, which I think is great. I'm a huge fan of Sheryl Crow and Susan Tedeschi. I don't know that they're. I mean, I can't speak eloquently on that topic because I just sort of am kind of like plowing through my own thing. Not really. I guess I'm sort of not really focused too much on that.
Or do you feel that the perceptions towards you have shifted at all in the last 10, 15?
I mean, I've gotten older and I'm a mom, so I'm sure that shifts things a little bit, I don't know. Because I'm not sure what people are thinking. I don't know the answer to that. I just know that I just try to do what I want to do, and like I have this mantra. It's like, you don't need anyone's permission to kick ass. So just do that.
There you go. That's the tagline. I love it. It's been something that I've always wondered about, because not being a professional musician, but I live in a town full of musicians and I know a bunch of them, but it's like there's a definite dividing line, and doesn't seem male female. It seems more a matter of focus and maturity.
I think
the people that can get bookings versus the people that can't. So let me ask you, when you go to any given club or venue, I mean, I figure a bunch of our listeners don't know that much about the music business. I certainly don't. Do you play for tips? Like, do you go in with the idea of the venue owner is going to sell their beers and whatever, and you're going to play and you get the tips, or how does that work?
That's a really good question. So I think when I was younger, I was far more ambitious in terms of like, we got to get exposure and like we got to play as much as possible. And I wasn't really thinking about the financial aspect of it, which is like time versus money. Is this really a good thing to be doing? Is this money well spent? Is this time well spent for the amount of money that you may or may not get? And it all depends on the venue. Right now, and I mean, maybe this is a point of laziness to me, for me, but it's like, I am not going to go out at midnight to go play a club, or 10 o'clock at night to go play a club for a door deal that's not very good, when I could just play like 5 or 10 minutes down the road from me and get a nice guarantee, and my kids can go because it's during the day on a weekend or something. It's kind of like I try to do what makes the most sense for my time and my family and my bandmates too. Like of course, I kind of changed things a little bit here the last year, and I've let my bandmates know, like, look, I'm not taking any gig unless everybody gets at least $100, $100 a man at least, or we're not taking it. So
You're exactly the kind of business owner we love to work with. You wouldn't believe how many people can't get past that concept of.
It's so stupid though, because like you can't take Facebook likes to the bank. You know what I mean?
Nope.
Like, it's just like you just, maybe I'm a little bit jaded, but I'm just like, I want to like go in, have a really good time, know what I'm going to walk away with, and just do things that make the most sense financially, which has been hard to learn. I mean, it's taken me a long time to learn that. I'm woefully ignorant when it comes to money and management and all of that. But I've just realized, like, I can't go into debt to do this. Like, I'm not gonna bankroll an album if I don't have money to do it. Like, I need to have that money sitting in the bank to do it. And however an artist can do that, a lot of people use Patreon and all that. I just try to save my money, put it in the bank, and then try not to spend it, and then save it to do the next thing that makes sense.
So have you found that helps you with a mental release, so you can focus better on your business and your music when you're not giving it away, so to speak, or when you're not playing, for exposure? We've all been there. Yeah. James and I made that mistake. We closed a number of deals to get the exposure.
Yeah. I mean, it's so, because I've been there. I mean, I think there was one year, I want to say it was like 2008, 2007. There was one year at South by Southwest. I want to say we had like 7 or 8 gigs, and none of them paid. And it was just a gauntlet. I mean, it was just like, somebody's going to hear us, and this is going to happen, and this is going to happen. And it's like, okay, what did we just do? I'm exhausted. I feel ill. Did we make any contacts? Like, was this worthwhile? And I swear, I feel like there's so much of the music business that is just like going to Vegas and betting on black. It's just like in the euphemisms, all the euphemisms, like, oh, but we can like we can get your stuff out there, and like we can bring you the right team of people to make sure that your music gets in the right hands. And like, we have these supervisors, and we know who the people are to get your music in front of the right people. And and it's like, okay, but at the end of the day, do they have like secret ears? Like, do they have an enhanced hearing that we don't know about? I mean, the average person, I think, has good discernment when it comes to like, hey, this is a good song. I like this artist. I want to go support this band. I like their show. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not about the tastemakers anymore. And I think social media is kind of proving that. It's all about, if you can get your product to market and people want it, who cares? Who cares? If people want what you have, then they want to come see you, and they're willing to pay for what you're doing, then like, you got it made. That's the key. I don't know how to do all that. I'm just saying, like, that's what you should do.
That's absolutely what you should do. And I'm really glad you said that too. I think that's going to help a lot of our listeners because you can speak to people in a way that we can't. We're really happy to have you here. Do you have any parting thoughts for our listeners or any other additional message you'd like to get out there? Obviously, go see the Meagan Tubb show. We'll put that in the links down below the video.
Yeah. Well, I guess the other thing I'd like to say, I'll just briefly touch on this, is that I am a Christian, and I have really found that my faith has helped me through a lot of dark times and trying to figure out what to do with, musically and things to write about, and just in all stages of life. It's been a real comfort and peace being able to just sort of like, I think my parting thing I want to say is like, when your identity is in Christ, it doesn't matter if you're never successful. It's not all on you. You can just, it's like there's a piece there that I think goes beyond understanding, and it's personal. I'm not trying to proselytize anybody, but it's a big part of who I am. And if you look through those lyrics, you can see that. And I wouldn't classify my music as necessarily a Christian. Like, I'm not singing gospel. I sing about a lot of different stuff, but there's a little thread in there. If you can find it, you'll see it. Or hear it, I guess I should say, because you don't see music, you can listen to it. So.
Well, I love the thread. So thanks for being here tonight. We really appreciate it. And we hope you're going to come back because we're going to be asking you to come back.
Oh man,